I saved a dog, then found out he saved me first. What if the life you think you're saving already saved yours? That's what I kept asking myself when I looked into the eyes of a muddy, starving dog shivering under a broken bridge one rainy November night. His name wasn't Max back then. I didn't know his name at all. All I knew is that he was hurt. His leg was bleeding, his ribs showed through his fur, and one ear had a deep cut, like someone had taken a knife to it. He wasn't barking or growling, just staring at me with tired, trusting eyes, like he'd been waiting for me. I was walking home from my graveyard shift at the gas station. It was past 2 a.m., cold and raining hard. I should have just kept walking. I barely had enough money to feed myself, let alone a dog. But something in his gaze stopped me. Hey, it's okay, I whispered, crouching down, slowly. He didn't run. He just lifted his head weakly, like he was saying, I can't go on. But I believe you. So I took off my jacket and wrapped him in it. He was lighter than I expected, like he hadn't eaten in weeks. I carried him all the way to my tiny apartment above Mrs. Calloway's laundromat. My hands were shaking, not from the cold, but from the weight of what I was doing. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have supplies, but I couldn't leave him. I cleaned his wound with warm water and antiseptic. He flinched once, but didn't bite. I gave him scraps of chicken and rice, and he ate so slowly, like he was afraid it would be taken away. That night, I slept on the floor beside him, using my arm as a pillow for his head. The next day, I named him Max. Short, strong, something that sounded like hope. Bringing him to the vet was scary. I was sure they'd say, "You can't afford this," or "Take him to a shelter." But Dr. Reyes didn't judge. She looked at Max, then at me, and said, "You did the right thing." Max had infections, parasites, and a fractured leg that had healed wrong. He needed surgery, medicine, time. I worked extra shifts. I sold my old guitar. I skipped meals. But every time I saw Max wag his tail, even weakly, I knew it was worth it. And, slowly, he got better. Within weeks, his coat grew thicker. His eyes sparkled again. He followed me everywhere. If I sat on the couch, he rested his chin on my knee. If I cried, and I did some nights, when memories of my dad's death hit too hard, he'd press his body against me, like he could absorb the pain. People started noticing us. At the park, on walks. "That dog loves you," they'd say. And I'd smile and say, "Yeah, he does." But here's the thing. No one told me. Rescuing an animal doesn't just change their life. It changes yours. Before Max, I was drowning. Not in water, but in silence. My dad died in a car crash 2 years ago, hit by a drunk driver. I was supposed to be with him that night, but I stayed late at a friend's house. I still hear his voice on the voicemail. "Hey, bud, where you at? I'm waiting." I never called back. After that, I shut down, dropped out of school, lived paycheck to paycheck, barely talked to anyone. I felt guilty, empty, like I didn't deserve to be happy. But Max didn't care about any of that. He didn't care that I sometimes forgot to shower, or that I jumped at loud noises, or that I cried during thunderstorms. He just stayed. Always. He made me get up in the morning. He needed walks. He needed food. He needed love. And in giving him those things, I found reasons to keep going. One night, about 6 months after I rescued him, I was walking Max near the same bridge where I found him. It was dark, but the street light flickered as we passed. Suddenly, Max went stiff, ears up, hackles raised. He growled low, pulling me back. "What is it, boy?" I asked. Then I saw it. A man in a hoodie, crouched behind a trash bin, holding something shiny. A knife. My breath froze. The man stood up slowly, looked at me, took a step forward. Max didn't hesitate. He lunged, barking wildly, placing himself between me and the stranger. The man backed off, swearing, and disappeared into the shadows. I dropped to my knees, hugging Max tightly, my heart pounding. "You protected me," I whispered. "You saved me." And that's when it hit me. Maybe I found Max that night. But maybe he found me first. A few days later, I went back to the vet with Max for a checkup. While we waited, I flipped through an old lost pet bulletin board. Flyers from months ago, missing cats, lost parrots, and then I saw it. A photo of Max, dated a year before I found him. The flyer said, "Missing Max, beloved family dog. Went missing during house fire. Last seen near Elm and 5th Bridge. Reward for return." My stomach dropped. I read it again. House fire, Elm and 5th Bridge. That was my neighborhood. I pulled out my phone and searched local news from that time, and there it was. A house fire claimed the lives of 3 people last night, including firefighter Daniel Reyes, 42, who re-entered the burning building to save a trapped child. The child survived. The dog, a German Shepherd mix named Max, escaped during the chaos and has not been found. Daniel Reyes. Same last name as my vet. I called Dr. Reyes that afternoon. She answered softly. "Yes, Daniel was my brother." I told her about the flyer, about finding Max, about how he'd protected me from a mugger. There was a long silence. Then she said, "Max was with Daniel that night. He ran into the fire with him. They trained together, K9 unit, search and rescue. When the ceiling collapsed, Daniel pushed Max out the window. Max survived, Daniel didn't." Tears filled my eyes. "So, Max was a hero," I said. "Yes, and he chose you for a reason." I visited Daniel's grave the next weekend, took Max with me, placed a single white rose on the stone. "Thank you," I said, "for your service, for your sacrifice, and for sending me Max." Max sat quietly beside me, watching the wind move the trees. That night, as I tucked myself into bed, Max jumped up and curled at my feet, something he rarely did. I reached down and stroked his fur. "You saved me, buddy, long before I ever saved you. Because here's the truth. We don't always save animals. Sometimes they save us, from loneliness, from darkness, from giving up. Max didn't just survive a fire. He carried courage out of the flames, and somehow he brought it straight to me. Now I volunteer at the animal shelter. I help other strays find homes. I tell Max's story whenever I can, because everyone deserves a second chance, even the ones who don't know they're broken. And sometimes the greatest rescues aren't about pulling someone from danger. They're about showing up, quietly, fiercely, without words, and saying, "I'm here. You're not alone." So I ask you, have you ever thought you were the one helping, only to realize you were the one being saved? Comment below. Has an animal ever changed your life? Like this story if you believe in second chances.
Subscribe for more real, raw, and powerful stories of hope. You never know. Your next walk might lead you to a broken dog under a bridge, and he might just be the one who puts you back together.